Some shows talk about one team. Other shows barely talk sports. This show will talk Packers, Brewers, and Bucks every day. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily with Steve Sparky Fifer, served up by Wendy's on 1250 AM and 105.7 FM The Fan. Download the Wendy's app today.
All right, let's get to it. See Sparky Fifer with you. We broadcast live from the 1250 AM and 105.7 FM The Fan studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Let's talk about this Brewers victory over the New York Mets today. And this is the one thing that we should all pay attention to, because I've been paying attention to it because Charlie's the one that brought it up. He got my attention, so now I'm focused on it. Laser beam, focused on what he said. And he said to me, and you listening, man, they always play down the level of the competition. They always do. Not buying in until they start beating teams they should beat. And this Mets team is coming off of a sweep by the Pirates. They haven't been playing well for quite a while now, shuttling guys back and forth to AAA and up to the major league level, and they are in disarray as we sit. So this, to me, just like the Rockies series was and the Pirates series, where now you're in a position of, okay, now take advantage of another team that's not playing well and take care of business. And they're 1-0 now with game 2 coming up at 6 o'clock with Mizorowski on the mound. You feel better about things because you're standing on your business and doing what you're supposed to do at this point, Charlie.
You feel really good. This is starting to be the team that I was expecting to see from last season, where you get contributions from guys 1 through 9 in the lineup. I think through the first half of the season, we were really only seeing late-game contributions from 6 through 9, which is not what you want to see. Now you're seeing the Christian Yelich just start to get going a little bit. Like I said, Jackson Chourio, he's adding a lot of pop to his game. Maybe not as much contact as you'd like, but it's getting there. You're starting to get these pieces to figure it out. And the pitching's been electric too. It's been one of the best rotations, one of the best bullpens in all of the major leagues. That's really exciting. And now that you're beating teams like the Mets, even if they are on a downslide, that's a very well-constructed roster and a lot of talent on that team. This is a huge win. This is something where you're looking at this, you say, all right, I'm feeling pretty good. If Mizorowski can come out tonight and dominate again, you're feeling really, really good.
Yeah, and that's just it, right? I mean, and think about this. Guys that are contributing, like we've talked about before, that maybe nobody thought was going to contribute. I mean, Joey Ortiz with a grand slam. I'll play this highlight again. We've played it twice already, but we'll play it again. Joey Ortiz with a grand slam. After the month of May, nobody wanted Joey Ortiz on the roster. Yeah, Tommy Ward. Okay, maybe Tommy. But outside of Tommy, at the end of May, nobody else was good with Joey Ortiz. Everybody else was like, dude, come on. You got to be able to find somebody with a better bat than Joey Ortiz, for God's sakes. And Joey Ortiz, from June 1st on, been like 275, 277, right? Now he's got, 4 home runs since June 1st to now in that time frame? Now you're feeling better about Joey Ortiz. Isaac Collins. Who's Isaac Collins, Sparky? Right, I know. That's what it was at the beginning of the season. I don't know who this kid is. Where did they get him from? Didn't even remember he was even on the team last year. That's where we were with Isaac Collins. Isaac Collins today, 4 for 4 with a walk and a home run. That dude has been raking as well in the month of June. He had damn near 290. These are the type of guys that now are starting to take off, which allows your offense to go with it. And that's without Chourio being unconscious at any point. Contreras playing with a fractured thumb. He hasn't been near the hitter he was last year. That's been a big letdown. And again, you can't control, fracturing a thumb or whatever, but that's been a big letdown. Yelich got hot, which is nice. Frelick and Terang both are hitting the ball fairly well. So that's good. Through April and May, it was like, oh my God, we have all this pitching and no hitting. How can we be this bad hitting? Guess what? They're not. Guess what? They look like a pretty darn good team right now. Brewers win 7-2. Your thoughts on a Brewers win today? Nikolay Lofan talking text line 414-677-1250. 414-677-1250. That was Isaac Collins' first career 4-hit game. Joey Ortiz's first career grand slam. Freely got a leadoff homer. That was his first career leadoff homer as well. All pretty cool stats there from the Brewers game today. And the great thing is I'm looking up FanDuel Sports Wisconsin. Pat Murphy is talking. He never looks like they win, ever. He's just always got that scowl, that Bill Cowher scowl on his face type deal. Never looks like they win. It just never looks. He's got his hand rested on his thing, wiping his face, just like, oh man, we got another game tonight still. I need a nap. Well, no nap for you, Pat Murphy. You're going to have to go out there and manage another game coming up a little bit later on. KJ in West Allis, you're next on Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's. What's up, KJ?
Hey, Sparky. Thanks for having me on the show.
Sure.
Very, very nice win for the Brewers in that first game. I'm really impressed, Sparky, with the bottom of the lineup, and I think essentially they've sort of carried the team for about a month now. And that's a really good thing because, as you noted, some of the big bats have been sort of struggling in the month of June and even in May a lot of times. So I think it's great. They've got excellent pitching right now. Freddie's been doing his work. Guys that you didn't expect to go deep are hitting the ball well. So, if they can keep things going, it's going to be a really good sign for the second half. It's going to be interesting to see what they do with the construction of the lineup going forward into the second half of the season with Collins and Ortiz and Durbin and these guys, and see how they work, to rather either keep these guys or maybe try and flip them for a big bat. I don't know what they're going to do.
Well, Suarez,
I think they have enough pitching right now.
Yes, for sure. The third baseman, Suarez, Eugenio Suarez from the Diamondbacks, is the one that I think most Brewer fans would like to have at third base going forward. Thanks for the call. But Tommy Wurst brought it up earlier, which is once Blake Perkins gets back, do we see Isaac Collins all of a sudden move over and start playing third base where he's played before in the past? That gives you now a legitimate, better than league average bat at this point at third base. Isaac Collins on the road this year is hitting .313 with over a 400 OPS on the road this year. That's pretty good.
That's pretty exciting. I think the only thing you get worried about is that he hasn't played an everyday role. So if you put him in that third base role and you want him to play every day like you've been making Caleb Durbin play, like you kind of made Vinny Capra play when he was still on this team, you have to make sure that those stats aren't going to drop as dramatically as some of these other dudes when you put them into that everyday role.
That's the I think the cool part about this, when you're a small market fan, big markets, you don't get opportunities like this. You don't get a whole month to hit as high as a fifth grader and still get to be on a baseball team at the major league level like Joey Ortiz was able to do. Still got to keep his job, right? And now he looks like a big leaguer again at the plate. And you're like, oh my God, this is amazing. Good thing they stuck with him. Big market teams, no, we're good. We're going to go find a solution. We'll go buy one, whatever, but we are not watching this continuing on going forward. They just move. Small market teams, Tampa Bay, Milwaukee, whatever, you have to hold through it and hope that this player pulls himself out of this and gets to the other side. That's really what you're hoping for. So earlier today, I was making our staff schedule. And obviously, I've got to write off when the leadoff shows are every day, 1 hour before Brewers games, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook, with Tommy Wirtz. I don't know how far ahead y'all have looked at the schedule, but let me help you understand what this really looks like. Because right now, as you and I talked about, Charlie, we're going through a part of the schedule where you're playing either not good teams or teams that are struggling, and you're able to take advantage of it, right? Okay. After this Mets series, it's still okay for the most part. Now, why is it still okay after the Mets series? Because then you get the Marlins, right? Feel pretty good about playing against the Marlins?
Not right now. They're one of the hottest teams in baseball right now. They've been playing really well, so I don't know. That may be a harder game than you would expect, or harder series than you'd expect.
You're driving me nuts. You're absolutely driving me nuts. Why can't you just be like, yeah, Sparky, I think they'll be good against the Marlins? Why can't you just say that and be happy with it?
Because the Marlins are kind of fun right now, man. I like cheering for the fun teams sometimes, and I like paying attention to them, and the Marlins are the fun team.
There is a piece on The Athletic that talks about all the guys that are probably going to be traded based on what league executives told Bowden. One of the guys is Lance Bregman, right? One of the teams they think Lance Bregman is going to go to.
Alex Bregman?
Or Alex Bregman, yeah. Lance Bregman's the old outfielder for the Astros. Alex Bregman. Oh, hold on. What did you say?
I said that's Lance Berkman.
Lance Berkman. See, it wasn't close on any of them. Don't get old, y'all. Just don't get old. All right, so check this out. So they have the Marlins for 3. That's at American Family Field. Then the Cubs for 3. That will obviously be difficult. Then after that, let's see here. Hold on. I got to go back. I think I screwed that up too. Yeah, no, so I was wrong. All right, so you have the Marlins. Then you have the Dodgers for 3. Then at home in Milwaukee. Then home against the Nationals for 3. Then the All-Star break. Out of the All-Star break, you go to LA to face the Dodgers again, to Seattle after that. That is not exactly how I want to come out of the All-Star break, is hanging out on the West Coast. The good thing is you're coming out of a break, so you're kind of refreshed a little bit. But going to the Dodgers to try and get your second half started, not ideal. Not ideal playing the Dodgers, 6 times in 2 weeks?
No, not exactly a fun type of trip there for you.
Holy crap. No, don't like that at all.
Do you know the Cubs' schedule up until the All-Star break, though, however?
I do not.
I have it right in front of me. So they are playing Cleveland today and tomorrow after winning against Cleveland yesterday.
Yeah, I saw that.
St. Louis for 3 games, the Twins for 3 games, the Yankees for 3 games. That's their schedule up until the All-Star break as well.
Brewers can be in first place at the All-Star break.
They could, but also
it's possible. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm just saying it's possible based on what he just said, based on how they're playing, based on how the Brewers are playing. I think it's possible they could either be tied for first or be within a half to a game of each other at that point.
Definitely. I still like the Cubs schedule a little bit better, though, going into that All-Star break, especially for that offense. I think they're playing 4 straight teams, or 3 of the teams, not the Yankees, but 3 teams that have shaky offenses that have really big games and then really bad games, like one after another.
Sure.
You never really know what you're going to get. So I like that a little bit better. But if the Brewers can go in and beat the Dodgers in this series before the All-Star break, if they can finish out here against the New York Mets.
That's just it, though. I mean, you've got, now you like the Marlins. But, I mean, the Marlins, the Dodgers in Milwaukee, and then the Nationals in Milwaukee, that 6-game stretch homestand to end the break, if you go, 4-2 on that homestand, you're feeling really good about yourself going in, and then whatever happens in Florida happens in Florida. More than likely, you'll have issues with weather and whatever. But I think right now, you look at this, let's see, let's say they win tonight with Mizorowski, right? Let's say they win tomorrow. They sweep the Mets. They take 2 out of 3 from the Marlins. They go 5-1 on the road trip. Go 4-2 on that homestand. You go in 9-3 in your last 12 going into the All-Star break. 9-3 in the month of July at that point. I don't know what Brewers fans not excited about that.
That's
I got some news here in regards to Game 2 of the doubleheader today. Just so you are aware, you get a 27th man for the doubleheader. That 27th man will be the return of Craig Yoho tonight for the Milwaukee Brewers, being the 27th man in the doubleheader game.
All right, that's fun.
I don't know. Dude, it didn't go well the last time.
Well, right.
I mean, I want to get excited. Trust me, I love Yoho coming out of spring.
Give him a little
I want to get
faith,
excited
man.
about Yoho tonight, but I don't know.
It's not about being excited. It's just about, with doubleheaders, the pitching situation is always a problem.
No. What's this dude's deal? Yoho, what's his best pitch?
The changeup.
Right. He's going to follow Mizorowski at 102 and Yoho. Oh, my God.
You just got yourself excited. You literally just got it. You were just saying, no, I don't want to get excited. And now I'm excited.
I'm excited now, yes. Could you imagine being a hitter, seeing Mizorowski for 5 innings, and then Yoho comes in behind that? Oh, my God. They're going to be twisting themselves into the ground. It's going to be the same thing. How are you not excited being a Brewers fan right now? It's just so much fun. I'm having so much fun. And again, they're 48-37 now after the win.
11 games over 500, yes.
So they go 9-3. They're 57-40 going into the All-Star break, y'all.
I mean, they're on pace for 90, right? That was what they were at the 81 mark.
Oh, my. Yeah.
You would think 90 gets you in the playoffs,
Yes.
so no problem. So
If you look at it right now, it looks like there'll be a wild card out of each division, possibly. It looks like it'll be 3 division winners and 3 wild cards, and there'll be a wild card out of each division as it sits right now. That looks to be the best possibility. So second place in the Central, second place in the East, second place in the West. When everybody thought the West or the East was going to take it, and you'll never get a second team in from the Central unless somebody completely collapses, the Cubs or the Brewers, it looks like both will be in the playoffs.
Yeah, both of them look primed to be some of the best and most consistent teams in the playoffs, too. This could be fun.
Yes, going to be absolutely be a lot of fun. All right, coming up next, I want to play back some of this interview from earlier today with Dustin Dopirak. Did I say that right? Dustin Dopirak?
Dopirak. You added a syllable.
I even wrote it down the way that I thought you said it, and I still got it wrong.
3 syllables.
Whatever. Double D from the Indianapolis Star, the Pacers beat writer. We're going to play back some of what he said earlier today on the Mason Crosby Show with Mitch Thunder Nellis. They talked to him about this Miles Turner trade that I want to play back because y'all need to hear the Indianapolis side of this deal with Miles Turner. So we'll do that coming up next. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's, live from the 1250 AM on 105.7 FM The Fan Studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Time for your fan weather forecast, brought to you by Utke Heating and Cooling. 86 degrees, partly cloudy skies, look like clear skies for the rest of the night. No rain in the area, a low of 65. I really am so glad I'm surrounded by these young guys that are able to help me with pronunciations and so forth because I'm horrible. So Dustin Dopirak.
Nailed it.
Yes! That's the only time I'm saying it for the rest of this show. He was on earlier today on the Mason Crosby Show with Mitch Thunder Nellis, brought to you by Verizon, #1 in the Milwaukee market. Pacers beat writer for the Indianapolis Star. Really, really good, even though I can't say his name. He's really, really good. Followed him on Twitter for a while. So he was on earlier this morning. I want to play some of the cuts that he had to say about Miles Turner signing with the Milwaukee Bucks. And then, of course, the Damian Lillard stretch revision, all that stuff. Here is what he said was his initial reaction hearing about the Miles Turner news.
I was pretty shocked. I mean, I was just like, you obviously look at the phone. I'm looking at Sham's tweet, something. Okay, like, am I really seeing this right? Like, what is this exactly? And obviously, the first part is like, okay, well, where'd they get the money? you know, and if it's not a sign and trade, how did they pull this off? Because I think that was probably what led to this in the first place, is that you just didn't know, okay, Brooklyn was the only team that had any cap space and didn't have enough cap space to make that happen. So you're like, all right, well, on one hand, you're like, it's been 24 hours into the free agency period, plus all the time since the finals, the Pacers have had to negotiate this. Kind of surprised it hadn't happened yet. And then you're like, okay, well, who could get him if not them? And obviously you find out later what happened as far as just the waving and stretching of Dame. But yeah, I mean, I was pretty surprised, but I mean, you're starting to wonder what's up on the Pacers side if this thing hasn't come together yet at this point. Certainly they claimed it as a number one franchise priority. And so everything, like, we're still getting conflicting reports as to what their offer was or how far they were willing to go.
Yep.
But, obviously if they weren't willing to go to where the Bucks were going to go, you're like, all right, I see how this happened. I would have expected him to get more, frankly. So, that was kind of my initial thing. It was like, wow, all right, if it's 107, it's 4 years. That means they were not coming with the offer that you would have originally thought. And that obviously Halliburton's injury changed their thinking on a lot of this.
I don't think it had anything to do with that whatsoever. If we're being honest, if you're cheap, you're cheap. They're cheap. Simon's cheap, the owner of that team. I think he's just a cheapo. That's all this is. You could come at me with, well, Halliburton's going to be gone for the year. What does that have to do? This is a 4-year deal. What about the other 3 years? Now you don't have a center at all. And you want to hear even the worst news for Pacer fans? Apparently, they're now getting in on Aiden with the Lakers. I wouldn't want that dude anywhere near my locker room. No chance. And your best player's not even around? Halliburton, if he's going to be out? So you're going to let that dude go in and ruin everything and be late for practices and being an idiot? And I'll tell you right now, you can mark this down. Rick Carlisle and him will never, ever get along. Because Rick Carlisle is old school. Right? We're doing things my way. You don't like it? You ain't going to play. I'll suspend you. You won't be with the team. Whatever. I ain't dealing with you. How is he going to deal with him not doing what he's supposed to be doing as a player? How is he going to deal with him being a temper tantrum on the sidelines when he gets pulled out in games? It's just never, ever going to work. And as a Pacers fan, you're desperate, right? So I don't care. It's just sign a legitimate center. We need somebody. But that's not the somebody you want. He wants to go deal with LeBron. Maybe LeBron can fix him. But there is nobody on this Pacers roster that he's going to step to and look at and go, oh, yeah, I'm going to listen to you, Pascal. Oh, yeah, I'm going to listen to you. Get out of my face. He ain't going to listen to him. He may listen to LeBron in L.A., so maybe LeBron strains about. But to this point, he's listened to nobody, Charlie. Nobody.
No. And I don't really think as a team already getting flack for not re-signing a Miles Turner, not bringing you back a guy that really probably wanted to be in Indiana. He's given them discounts in the past before. He's chosen to stay there. They've chosen to keep him when they could have traded him or let him go multiple times before. And then you go out and get a player like Ayton with that kind of head case type mentality that you just don't want around. And when you have a Tyrese Halliburton who's a little bit up and down with his emotions already, can be a little polarizing to some people, you don't want to add another player into that when your team is already taking a little bit of a hit in the offseason, and you're going to take more of a hit next season when you're not the same caliber of team, when you don't have Tyrese Halliburton and you're not in that same spot in the playoffs that you were this year. You're going to get a lot of criticism. And if you're Rick Carlisle, you would say in the modern NBA, I can go get a job anywhere I want right now and just kind of leave this organization. Or the Pacers are just going to let him go because that's what they did with a Miles Turner when they didn't feel like he was worth it anymore. And if this team isn't good enough, Rick Carlisle is not going to be worth it. And he's going to be happy to leave and go to a franchise that's going to pay him and allow him to win an NBA championship right now. This is all going to set a bad precedent if you make a move like that.
It's Charlie Usen producing this fine show. See Sparky Fifer with you. So then Dustin goes on to talk about his thoughts as the Pacers beat writer for the Indianapolis Star on the Bucks' decision to waive Damian Lillard with that stretch provision in order to sign Miles Turner.
Yeah, I mean, it makes it a big, kind of risky deal. I mean, you're in that you're throwing a lot of money at this, and if, like, in a manner of speaking, you're paying like $50 million a year for Miles, and I think Miles is a good player. I mean, I think he definitely gets he certainly has his critics because his rebound numbers aren't as high as you want. You'd like him to be a little bit better scoring the ball in the paint, either just out of post ups and that. He only shot like 43% in kind of the 3 to 10 foot range. You'd like better than that, but obviously he gives you threes, he gives you shot blocking, and those are valuable things. And he really paired really well with Tyrese Halliburton. So I mean, it's going to be a painful loss for the Pacers. I'm not trying to underplay that in any way, but I mean, you're ultimately what you're kind of putting together is $50 million for Miles, and that's over the top. I mean, by itself. Now, I mean, I guess there's the question of what else could you do? Like, I mean, you're looking at a situation where you have to do something to try to convince Giannis that you're willing to make a push, and this is certainly you saying you're putting the chips in the middle. But what does that make sense on the return? And so it does seem like you're kind of scrambling, trying to do whatever you can do just to try to keep Giannis happy and try to make sure that he feels like you're willing to make a push. And that, it could ultimately, the trade asset could ultimately, bank for you long term. You could eventually say, this isn't working, but, he's making $28 million, so you could package him together with something that could allow you to make a trade for somebody who might be rebuilding. I mean, salary figures help you in that regard. I mean, the Pacers overpaid on Bruce Brown a couple of years ago, and that's why they ended up being able to get Pascal Siakam in a trade, is that Toronto just wanted to move on, basically, and so they're willing to take somebody that's being overpaid, but just they needed to make the trade work, and they're trying to start over. That could play in the long term. You don't really know, but it obviously gives you a younger, better version of Brook Lopez. But you don't have a replacement for Dame right now. For sure. So how much better are you in the Eastern Conference race at this point? Where do you really fit if you couldn't do it with Dame? Are you really better off, with Miles? And don't you have to do something else? And how can you do something else at this point? There's a lot of big questions there.
That's the thing. They can do something else, right? You can put together contracts like Kuzma, like the dude they're getting over from Charlotte with an $8.1 million salary who's not going to play here. So whoever ends up with him can buy him out. He's willing to give back a lot of it, apparently, according to reports. So you can trade him. You could trade Kuzma. You could trade whoever else. I don't care. Tyler Smith, Chris Livingston, Andre Jackson Jr. You could package contracts together. Plus, you have the ability to trade your first-round pick in 31. You could trade first-round swap rights if you want with 32 or whatever. So you have the ability to go get another player if that is something that you want to do. And there is some power with that 31 and 32 pick. And you're like, wow, that's so far away. Yeah, but think about it if you're another basketball team and you're looking at the Bucks. You have 5 years at $23 million on the books. If Giannis were to leave at some point, that's going to hinder you, obviously, from being able to build around Giannis. If Giannis stays, it's going to be, 35, 36 years old by that point? And the gamble is if you're another team taking that one, you're gambling that this team isn't going to be as good if Giannis is on the downside of his career. If he's going to decide to stay here and retire, that pick is going to be pretty good because they're not going to be a contender for a championship by the time 31 gets here, either because they have him and he's old or because they don't have him and they don't have another star to replace him and build with. So that 31 first-round pick has a lot of swag with it, I think, right now, Charlie, if you're an opposing team.
If I was an opposing team, that would be the main trade target for this Milwaukee Bucks team. I'd be willing to take on a Kyle Kuzma contract if it meant taking back that pick. Yeah, of course, man. I'm willing to do that. I'm willing to kind of turn a KPJ or a Gary Trent Jr. into a sign and trade if that's what it takes. Again, taking on some kind of contract in order to get that pick, in order to give the Bucks a chance to win right now with a player that's better than any of those guys that I just named. easily. Do that. That's something that all teams should be calling the Milwaukee Bucks about. If I'm the Milwaukee Bucks, you need to know that, and you need to understand the value of that pick. So if you do want that pick in the future, you have to make sure nobody can get it. But if you're willing to trade it, you have to make sure you're getting as much as you can out of it.
Dustin Dopirak, Pacers beat writer for the Indianapolis Star, then was talking earlier today on the Mason Crosby Show about now how he sees things for the Pacers going into next year.
I mean, it certainly doesn't look good. I mean, I always hesitate to say, well, they can't do this and they can't do that because I didn't think they were going to get this far. I did not expect this team to be in the NBA Finals. So, I mean, I had them going, down in the second round of Cleveland. And so, and other people had them going down the first round of the Bucks. So, they've been written off a lot. So I'm trying to be careful not to do that again.
A little overcharged, yeah.
But in the same way, obviously we're seeing conflicting numbers as to what they were willing to give up or what they're, we have a report. Basically, our Greg Doyle spoke to a source who told him 4 years, 95 was the offer. And I've seen elsewhere that they were never willing to go above 3 or above 20 million a year.
And he said no to that?
So
came
the
here?
luxury tax, I think they're at 167 million in salary, and the luxury tax is right around 187. So they were about. It was a tick under 20 worth of space between, and they're well over the cap anyway already. So, and so they didn't have a lot of opportunity to really go get somebody else. Basically, if you're not going to pay him, your next option is the non-taxpayer mid-level exception, which you can pay somebody up to about 14.1 million. So that becomes the cap as the guy that you can get. And by stretching this out as long as it went, they missed out on a lot of the guys that you could sign for that. So. This raises a lot of questions as to the overall, idea. It's like if your hope, like it just seems like, and I don't know this for a fact, but it just seems like their view was, well, no one else is going to be able to offer him. We're going to be able to give him a lower offer than we normally could because there's no one else that could swoop in and outdo us on this. So, we're going to try to get him to take lower than he would have normally been expected on the market, be able to get him, keep him in the fold, go into the tax, but only a little bit into the tax, sort of moderate that because as you go up, you pay more in tax money and then you also get closer to that first apron. And so it seemed like their view was to try to get it all. Try to get it all in a situation where you could get him on a team-friendly deal, and you could, only be paying so much in tax money, and you would not have to bargain with anybody else. And so then when the Bucks swoop in and make a move that I'm sure the Pacers never saw coming in a million
shocking.
Years in that space, and certainly it's a big risk on their part. They're throwing a lot of money at this, and so I'm sure they just thought no one would go that far. But now you're in a position where you're running out of options really quick. If they would have decided kind of early in the case, it was like, hey, man, most we can do is 20. You're going to take it or not? And if the answer was no, they could have changed. They could have pivoted by now. Now you're looking at not a lot on the board. They can certainly throw themselves in the sweepstakes for both DeAndre Ayton and Al Horford, but they're going to be behind when it comes to both of those. It seems like the Lakers are in the driver's seat for Ayton and the Warriors are in the driver's seat for Horford. It's not impossible that you could change their minds. If you throw the full mid-level at them and sell them on the idea of you get a couple years and you get Halliburton. When you get Halliburton back, he's going to make you better and he's going to reward you for running the floor and all these things. So there's options. There's a couple options there, but there aren't many.
Did he say the front runner for Al Horford was Golden State?
He did say that, and that is correct.
Al Horford and Draymond Green?
I think they'd be fine.
And Jimmy Butler?
I think they'll be okay.
Those three guys are like the top three guys I dislike outside of Halliburton in the league.
Throw TJ McConnell on that team, too, and it's perfect.
Yes, right, McConnell. Halliburton replaces Curry at some point. And then I'm fine with the rest of the league. Just screw them. Everybody else I'm cool with. Al Horford with Draymond Green. Oh, my God. And Jimmy Butler. Oh. And no Halliburton at the Pacers. So that's going to be the team I root against every single night of the NBA season if that happens.
That's going to be a really good defensive team if Al Horford does join that squad. I know he's older now and not the same type of player that he was maybe even 3 years ago. But still, put him next to Draymond Green. That helps him out a little bit.
Old team.
It is definitely going to be an old team, but a team with a lot of experience and a lot of championship experience.
Golden State Warrior Walkers, Golden State Warrior Depends. You got all kinds of stuff you can put branding on for Golden State for that team. Everybody, the Bucks are so old. The Bucks are so slow. They got to get younger, Sparky. Okay, they got younger. Apparently, Golden State don't feel the same way. Apparently, Golden State says we're cool being old. We'll be the old guys here. We're fine. We're good. But you know, we got a bunch of guys that know how to win. A bunch of guys that have been to NBA Finals before. Jimmy's not one, but he's been there a couple of times. So we've all been there. We know how to win and get the deal done. It's going to be those old dudes against that Thunder crew. And then who knows what Denver looks like next year. I mean, the Nuggets are a question mark at this time. So you have Golden State, you have Oklahoma City, Denver, and then that's probably it. I'm not buying the Clippers. I'm not buying Memphis. I'm not buying the rest of these guys. I don't think out west. Right?
Dallas, maybe.
Oh, Dallas, yes. I forgot about
healthy,
Dallas.
That's going to be a pretty good team.
Right. And Jason Kidd wants to play Cooper Flag at the point.
San Antonio, if they're healthy, could be pretty good. I mean,
no. I'm not in on San Antonio until I see if this guy can coach. I'm not there yet. Like, if this was Popovich or somebody that had some type of track record, I'd be in there. I'd feel better. But since I don't really know this dude necessarily, I mean, I'm sure the Spurs fans know him. He's been on that bench. But I don't really know him that much, so I'm not willing to put the Spurs there yet. But absolutely, Darren Fox and Wembanyama and those younger guys get another year older, and Castle and those guys. Yeah, Spurs will at some point be a contender for sure. And all the NBA action you could possibly watch, or NFL, or MLB, or UFC Fight Night this last weekend. They got SummerSlam coming up in August at the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Best place to be to watch any type of sporting event that you may want, or sports entertainment in the case of SummerSlam. All you have to do is go on down to the Potawatomi Hotel Casino. Go into the Potawatomi Sportsbook, and you will be in awe. 6,500 square feet, 2,000 square foot center screen. You have the Potawatomi Sportsbook kitchen. Delicious. All-day brunch. Sandwiches, salads, wraps, wings, 7 different type of wing sauces. Homemade desserts and pastries every day. All-day brunch. Plus 48 beers on tap. Dozen different specialty cocktails. And you will make friends by going to the Potawatomi Sportsbook. And you're like, what do you mean? I'll tell you what I mean. You go down there, and that place is hopping like it always is, and all these people are rooting for all these different things going on, and all of a sudden a couple guys or girls are going to be rooting for the same thing you're rooting for. You're all going to be talking and pulling for the same thing. Then there's going to be another group of people that are probably doing the exact opposite bet that you're doing. Then you're going to be going back and forth and start talking and laughing and having a good time. Beverages are going to be flowing. Telling you, great night. And then you got the hotel right there if you want to crash out at the end of the night or whatever the case may be. Tommy Worst, that's the answer to your cold and lonely problem. You need to go hang out at the Potawatomi Sportsbook and find your hookup.
Did you say cold and lonely problem? Is that what you said?
Yeah. You go down there, you hang out at the Sportsbook, you know the manager.
I do. Austin Herdina, right. I'm sure. Yeah, he could hook it up over there.
I'm just like, baby, I'll make you rich. I know my guy over here. I'm your ticket to fame and fortune.
I didn't tell him how last week or earlier in this week, it might have been how you were telling him, like, yes, thank you for paying my house payment.
Yes.
Thank you for paying my car payment. It was a brutal beat, the last one, and he picked against the Brewers in game 1, but Orlando Arcia to not get a hit for plus 600 and then with 2 strikes, ruined the whole thing. But yeah, I mean, You said ratings are up for women on this station,
yes.
So you're
ratings
welcome.
Are up for women on this station. Yes, you're right.
There's only one change.
So it's Austin Herdina, then you're saying?
Well, the leadoff show, probably.
Yeah,
I mean,
in
just
general.
in general. Yeah.
Just in general.
Austin and myself, yeah.
The big old hunks of love.
And Drew Wagner.
Hey, we could have him and Herdina do a gambling show. The big old hunks of love.
I think that'd be pretty good.
Yeah, right?
I think that'd hit.
I think it'd be fun. I think we could do it. Late night Friday nights or something, right?
Crappy. We'll just call it that.
No. What are you talking about?
Craps. It was a plan.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
Okay.
I get it. Still lame. Over there is Charlie Hughes and Sparky Fifer with you. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's, live from the 1250 AM 105.7 The Fan Studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Up next, Charlie's Sounds of the Day. Don't change the dial. Just saw them possibly at Summerfest. I didn't actually see them necessarily at Summerfest. This camera of ours on YouTube is insane. Def Leppard
Every time
was
it
there.
zooms on you, it's so good.
Yeah, you just love it and just laugh. That's how I know there's something wrong with the camera, because Charlie just starts laughing over on the other side of the glass. I was like, great, look at the camera. You can stream us on YouTube. If you didn't know that, stream us right now today. All you have to do is go to youtube.com/@thefanmilwaukee. youtube.com/@thefanmilwaukee. All the local shows stream each and every day, whether it's the Pack a Day radio show with Andy Herman, weekdays from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m., or the Mason Crosby Show with Mitch Thunder and Nellis, brought to you by Verizon, the number one in the Milwaukee market, from 9 to 11. And then, of course, this show from 2 until 5 every day, Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's. Or how about Wisconsin Sports Weekend, Saturday mornings from 9 to 11. They'll be off this weekend, but they're on every other Saturday. And then, of course, you can't forget about the Leadoff Show, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook, with Tommy Wirtz, 1 hour before every Brewers game. He'll be back on the air tonight for Game 2 of the doubleheader for the Brewers and the Mets. The Miz takes to the mound tonight for the Brewers, just after 6 o'clock first pitch in New York. 5 o'clock will be the leadoff show. Brewers win Game 1 of that one, 7-2. Isaac Collins was 4 for 4 with a walk, including a solo homer. Joey Ortiz with a grand slam. Sal Frelick with a leadoff home run, his first of his career. A very good matinee performance behind Freddie Peralta on the mound today for the Milwaukee Brewers. All right, let's get to our sounds of the day.
What sound clips will Chicago Charlie pick today for Sparky? Will Sparky become enraged? Will laughter ensue? It's time for Charlie's Sound of the Day. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's on The Fan.
Hey, do we think the Braves are going to be sellers?
Maybe. I mean, there's a shot.
Spencer Schwellenbach. Done. Fractured pitching elbow.
How does that happen to them all the time? I feel like Spencer Strider went down the same way. I mean, all their young pitchers that start playing well just go to Mike Soroka was the same way a few years ago. It's really unfortunate for them.
They haven't said how long he's going to be down, but apparently MLB.com is reporting that he won't throw for at least 4 weeks. Said he felt sore Sunday, and then his team discovered a small fracture in his elbow. So that's a big blow to another team in the East, right? If you don't win the division, you got to get in through the wild card. So anytime something like this occurs against a team that you may have to deal with at some point, it's something to be noted. Not that you want anybody to get hurt, because you certainly don't, but definitely something to pay attention to. All right, Charlie, sounds of the day. Top 3 sound clips from around the sports world. Charlie, what do you have?
All right, first up, we're going to head over back to the NBA and over to ESPN's First Take, where Brian Windhorst was on the show. Lord. And he compared the waiving of Damian Lillard to a monumentally all-time bad sports move, something that I think you will not like the comparison of.
It's a level of mortgage that really pro sports has never seen before. As a Cleveland Browns fan, this is akin to what the Deshaun Watson contract was, except for Deshaun Watson wouldn't even be on the team anymore, which is pretty much the way it is anyway, but that's another story for another day. This is that level of mortgaging, except for the player's not going to be there. And I was in Cleveland in 2010 when LeBron was walking away. I was there those days when I felt the desperation that it was existing and wrapping around the Cavs franchise. I felt not quite that same level when Kevin Durant left Oklahoma City, but I felt that a little bit too. And there's nothing like a small market that's losing a superstar. The desperation is almost depressing. And so I think if this had happened in Cleveland and these tools were available to them for LeBron, they would have done this. In fact, they might have done it with 2 or 3 players. They might still be paying off stuff in 2010 to hold on to LeBron for a year. So I kind of, in a way, get and understand and give, sort of a pass to Milwaukee, even though I don't think that this is really a smart move on any level. The problem that I have with it is that I don't think Miles Turner moves the needle. And I say that, guys, not as an insult to Miles Turner, because I have so much respect for him. He's a good player. I spent 3 weeks with him in China with the national team in 2019. I met his parents, great people, had great conversations with him, great guy. It is not a comment on him as a player. I just don't see this level of mortgage resulting in a moving of the needle that makes Giannis say, oh, now everything's different. And that's what my concern would be.
is common sense. When you get to ESPN, do they ask you to get rid of it? Like, do they have a machine and zaps it out of your head? Is that what occurs when you get to ESPN? Because trust me, I'll never work there if they do that. And some of you are probably laughing like, you don't have any common sense either, you idiot. Okay, maybe you're right. This whole, I'm not even going to acknowledge the Deshaun Watson stupidity, whatever. But let's just talk about what he said at the end. It doesn't move the needle. In what way exactly? In the way that you think they should be a championship caliber team by adding a player? There's nobody on the market that makes you a championship caliber team. Nobody. Okay? So let's start there. Secondly, if they don't get Miles Turner and they get stuck with DeAndre Ayton, that would destroy this locker room. Destroy the team. That'd be horrible. There was nobody else. Nobody else. So that means that Jericho Sims and Bobby Portis have to be at center. And if you're going to tell me that they're going to play as well with those two as they would with Miles Turner at center, you're crazy. So while I understand what you're saying, it doesn't make him a championship level contender. I agree. But what you're missing is now there's not a gigantic step backwards with the same team as you would have had by not having Brook Lopez, which they knew they were losing because he was going to the Clippers, right? There was a void they were not going to be able to fill outside of moving Giannis to the 5, which, again, was going to be a no-starter for Giannis. He does not want to play there 35 minutes a night or 30 minutes a night. There's no chance. So, no, maybe it doesn't move the needle to get you to the championship level, but I'll tell you this much. You don't take a giant step backwards either if you don't have them. So now you're status quo. When the season ended without Damian Lillard, you're in the exact same spot as you were before. You got the same dudes back with a center that's younger than Brook Lopez, that does the same thing as Brook Lopez. So now you're status quo. Now the question is, can you find a second scorer? Now, I don't know the answer to that, but I have learned do not ever doubt John Horst's ability to pull a rabbit out of a hat. So we will see. To the other point that Brian Windhorst made. You're right. You're right. When you're a small market and you can't get a free agent to sign in your market because you're a small market, nobody wants to play with you, and then say you're a small market and you play when it's snowing out a majority of your season, I know you play inside, but you got to drive in that crap and everything else, really got no chance of signing anybody. So when you get a superstar, and you have that superstar, yes, you're going to do everything in your power to make sure that person doesn't leave. Because there's no guarantee you'll ever have another one the rest of your life. I didn't think I'd ever have one in my lifetime. This is unbelievable. When he leaves or when he retires, whatever happens, there's no guarantee you or I will ever see anything close to this good of a player for the rest of our life in a Milwaukee Bucks uniform. I would imagine it's probably better odds that we'll never see anybody like this than there is that we will see somebody like this. Now, that's what they said after Brett Favre, and you got Aaron Rodgers. That's what they said after Aaron Rodgers. Maybe you don't have a Hall of Famer in Jordan Love, but you at least got a good quarterback in Jordan Love. Nobody thought that was possible, and you figured out how to do it. So maybe they can get lucky with a draft pick, and it works out again for them. But yes, and Brian, it's okay. It's okay to be desperate and do what you have to do to hold on to your superstar. And he acknowledges the same thing. Like, he understands it. He gets it. This community is going to be crushed when you no longer get to see Giannis in a Bucks uniform. And that's why everybody in this community wants to fight everybody that wants to tell them that he's leaving. Because nobody wants to imagine the day that that actually occurs or live through it for that matter. All right, Charlie, go ahead.
All right, next up here, we're going to head over to the WNBA, where it was announced that
this here,
Cleveland and Detroit will be the next two destinations for expansion there. Indiana Fever star Sophie Cunningham had a Indiana Fever star. She's probably the third best player right now on that team.
Never heard of her in my life.
Well, you're not paying attention to the WM. She's been awesome this season.
It could be Sophie at Wendy's that took our order when Tommy and I went in there today and be like, oh, cool. Never heard of her in my life.
Well, if you're a WNBA fan, you know Sophie Cunningham. She is one of the bigger stars in the league right now.
5 people listening to us know who Sophie Cunningham is? I bet you it's less than 5. Go ahead.
All right, I'm going to play the clip now. Sophie Cunningham had an opinion on the expansion to these 2 cities.
NBA side, because it is helpful. It's way more helpful. You just get more perks, more opportunities, and so I get that aspect. But I also think that you want to listen to your players too. Like, where do they want to play? Where are they going to get excited to play and draw fans? I do think that Miami would have been a great one. Like, everyone loves Florida. Nashville is an amazing city. Kansas City, amazing opportunity. There's a huge arena downtown that no one's using, and I think that the women's soccer league is showing that, like, people draw, and so I'm not so sure what the thought process is there. But at the end of the day, you also want to make sure that you're not expanding our league too fast. I think that's also another thing, that you don't want teams to totally dominate and then have teams that aren't. And so I just think that it's kind of a hard decision-making situation. But man, I don't know how excited people are to be going to Detroit or Cincinnati.
Okay. First of all, she plays where?
Indiana, the Fever.
Yeah. So, I love Indianapolis. I'm a big proponent of the city of Indianapolis. I love going to Indianapolis. I love all the great restaurants that they have. I like the ability to, when it's bad weather outside, I can get around downtown Indianapolis and never have to go outside. Big fan of the infrastructure. I think there's not a better city in this country when it comes to running big events and big tournaments and getting traffic in and out. It is amazing. I have friends that live in the suburbs in surrounding areas of Indianapolis. This isn't a slam on Indianapolis, but come on, man. You're going to go at Cleveland and Detroit. If we do it her way, which is let us have a say, we'll have a team in Hawaii. We'll have a team in the Bahamas. It's going to be all warm weather places. Nobody's going to get a shot at any of this. Anywhere that has snow, essentially, outside of maybe she'll be okay with Chicago. Outside of that, it's not happening. She brought up Miami right away. Now, she brought up Kansas City, which it's a lot warmer than it is here down there. Guarantee you of that. So I'm fine. If you want to add a WNBA team in Kansas City, by all means, go right ahead. But they cannot go to the players and be like, hey, where do y'all want to play? You can go to the players and go, hey, where do y'all want to have an all-star game? Let's see if we can make something happen. You want to have an all-star game in Hawaii? Let's see if we can make it happen, right? You want to have an all-star game at Disney World or whatever? All right, let's see if we can figure something out. Okay, cool. We can do that. But to put an actual franchise in? Sorry, y'all. Y'all don't get a say in this. And I realize that y'all think you're at the level of the NBA or the NFL or the MLB. You're not. You're not even remotely close. Your numbers are up. That's great. I'm happy for you. But you are not at that level. And now we've got people walking around acting like they should be on that same level and all this. I mean, get out of here. That is absolute insanity. And again, I've been to Cleveland. I've been to Detroit. Would I live in either of those places? I don't know. Depends. How much am I getting paid? How's the school system for my kids? I got lots of questions. But I'm not making the decision because of Cleveland. Like, my question to her would be, cool, what restaurants have you ate at in Cleveland? Oh, you haven't ate at a restaurant in Cleveland? What are the school systems like in Cleveland? Oh, you're not going to have kids. Okay, good. What do you know about Cleveland, lady? What do you know? Because I don't know anything about you. But what do you know about Cleveland, and educate me on Cleveland? My guess is, like the boneheads on TV that were ripping on Milwaukee when they didn't want to come here for the NBA Finals. Remember when that was going on ESPN? Stephen A. Smith and that other lady. What's her name again? Rodney McAuliffe had a crush on her forever. What was the lady with Stephen A. Smith that was his co-host back in the day? She might still be on there.
Molly Caron?
Molly Caron, yeah. Yeah, her. And she had never even been here before. And she's running her mouth. That's the type of stuff that drives me nuts. Absolutely crazy. Go ahead.
I just want to say with this, I don't really know if she's complaining more so about the true location of these teams. I think
you should go ask those people how they think what she meant.
Right. I think when she's what she's talking about here is what you were saying, is you would go to Cleveland if the money was right. And right now that WNBA players don't feel like they're getting compensated the way that they should. So I think what she's saying is that if we're not going to get paid that money, then at least there should be other benefits, like allowing us to travel to Miami a couple times a season or travel to some of these other places versus Detroit and Cleveland. The problem is when you establish teams in cities like Detroit and Cleveland who love their sports teams as much as they do, that's going to benefit you and the league more in the long run. Right now, going to Miami, people don't want to go to Dolphins games right now. They struggle to fill Hard Rock Stadium. So how do you expect them to fill a WNBA stadium versus a team that is going to be set in Cleveland or in Detroit, where they just filled the entire city of Detroit for the NFL draft last year, 2 years ago. And now you can give them a new team to cheer for. I think they're going to love that. This helps the league in the long run, not a team in Miami right now.
So I looked up Sophie Cunningham because I don't know anything about Sophie Cunningham. She's on a 1-year deal. Big star. 1-year deal for $100,000.
That's not a lot of money in professional sports.
But you think we should ask your opinion on what we should do with our league?
That's a majority of the league.
You must be crazy. If we're going to ask anybody at this point, it's going to be Caitlin Clark, who when she's out, our ratings drop by 50%. If I'm going to ask anybody, it's going to be the one that is bringing people to the TV, not this person.
I just looked up just because it was a team that I thought of. The Connecticut Sun are in there, and I'm looking, and I don't see a position in their front office for like PR, public relations, anything like that on their list here. They have a communications manager, but like that's where my brain went to immediately with this, like the PR training that happens in the NBA. Like a comment like that, I don't think gets out.
It better not.
Like
you're never going to hear the end of it if it does.
It just seems like such a shot at the league to even be like, why would we go to these cities after they approve those cities? And like, you know, maybe Indiana has one because they have Caitlin Clark there, and they want everyone
they have to have a team of people for her
to be trained around that. But like, if they want to get to this point in the league where people are, you know, you are making more than $100,000 on a yearly salary too, and you want to be in these endorsement deals and whatnot, like maybe Connecticut should get on board and try to get a PR director.
Just crazy. All right, what's the third one?
All right, and last up here, we're going to go to the Brewers-Mets game earlier today, but we're going to hear from SNY, where they each game pick a young Mets fan to be their kid broadcaster later on in one of their featured games of the week later in the season. In the game today, this young Mets fan, Antonio, was very excited to get the call to be the Mets Kidcaster.
It's become one of the best things we do, one of my favorite things every year. The Kidcaster's coming up on July 22nd, and the winner this year, Antonio Veneziano, 12 years old from Baldwin, New York, has no idea he won, but he does see me, and I'm walking down to him right now to say hello and also to let him know. Hey, Antonio, what's up, man? That's your name.
God, he knows my name!
I do know your name. You want to know why I know your name?
Why you know my name?
Would you like to be the Kidcaster with Gary, Keith, and Ron on July 22nd?
I would love to. Really?
Really? Absolutely. Yeah, right? You did an amazing job. There were more entries than have ever been had, and you were the winner. I saw it. Your home run calls, pretty spectacular. You want to show us one right now?
Sure. Okay.
Go ahead.
Who should it be?
What are you wearing, Lindor? Do Lindor.
Okay. Lindor smacks one, right field, this one back, it has a chance, and it's gone!
You guys see why he won Kidcaster this year? And he's wearing the eye black, too, which I love right now. It looks like you can go out there and play. But, Antonio, want to congratulate you, and I look forward to seeing you just a couple of weeks up there in the booth with the guys, all right?
Thank you so much, Steve.
All right, you got it. Guys, Antonio, he's going to be joining you in a couple of weeks. Back to you.
I don't know what's more spectacular, the home run call or the eye black. I mean, that's really going all in.
And he's a very polite young man, too.
I don't understand why every team in baseball doesn't do this. Every team in baseball should do this. It's a brilliant idea. Absolutely a brilliant idea to have kids up in the broadcast booth or whatever. You know, they're on travel baseball teams or whatever, who their favorite players are. Yeah, like you could imagine the real innocent things you're going to get in these broadcasts that people are just going to love and eat up.
I know he's not on the broadcast, but you think Andrew Wagner would take a kid into the press box and tour him around a little bit?
No chance. No chance. No. Hey, U.S. Cellular, that is who you should sign up with. That's who I've had for over a decade. They're great. Great customer service, great perks and benefits throughout the year. Always checking in on you, always making sure all is good, always giving you an opportunity to upgrade or do different things. And right now, they've brought back Us Days this year. That's right. They're exclusive events to celebrate loyal customers with unique offers. This includes big discounts on new phones and tablets, plus other giveaways and events like parking lot parties. This only goes through July 16th. Parking lot parties. Some of these around the country I've seen had DJs. Some of these have had food trucks. Find out where our nearest one is here in southeastern Wisconsin by going to uscellularparty.com. That's uscellularparty.com, and you will have an absolute blast here. And even if you don't go, you can still go visit us on our website. Check out the best upgrade offers of the season. Again, this is for U.S. Cellular customers. All right, let's take a quick time out. Come back on the other side. Green and Gold update brought to you by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. And we're going to compare this Bucs offseason to the Packers offseason. And we'll see what we think is a better offseason for both of these teams. That's straight ahead here on Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's, live from the 1250 AM and 105.7 FM The Fan Studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Check us out on YouTube, streaming live, again, on youtube.com/@ use the @ symbol, The Fan Milwaukee, @The Fan Milwaukee.